Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Cluiche. Formerly play on GA, now we've rebranded to on Cluiche here. We're going to continue to bring you the high quality content that we were bringing you before, but under a new banner. As you can see, we've gone for the black and white logo here up on the screen. We've switched it up and I'm delighted to be joined by Matthew Hurley once again on the channel, the Gaelic Statsman. Matthew, how have you been?
Yeah, I'll go, Seamus. It's a bit weird now calling ourselves different names, and Aaron is calling himself a different name as well. And you said it, yeah, it's an end of an era, really, but start of a new era, maybe. But yeah, I like the name on Clare and I like the logo as well. So hopefully it's the start of something good anyway after the shenanigans that went on yesterday with GA. But hopefully that's put behind us now. We'll move on, and yeah, a lot of action to get through this weekend.
Yeah, and of course, massive shout out to him as well. Obviously, Gerald, hope everything works out there. I mean, that was just a bit very harsh to be honest. But yeah, no, we'll carry on into the games here ourselves. So basically, we'll move on here, and we have, of course, 6 games that we're going to get into now. 4 of the football preliminary quarter finals, which are taking place over the weekend, and then our 2 hurling quarter finals. So we are getting into knockout football now. Knockout football is here. The championship is livening up. And what are we feeling about this match? I mean, just to start, the 4 quarter finals that we have in front of us here are all extremely hard to call.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and even looking at the games, like you look at Kildare Monaghan a few weeks ago, would have been easy to call. Then last Sunday, Kildare pulled an absolute brilliant surprise against Roscommon, and it's thrown into disrepute again. When you look at the Cork and Mayo game, a lot of people would have thought, okay, Mayo should win the game, and especially being 6 points up. But somehow managed to lose that game. And yeah, it was an incredible weekend last weekend. And maybe went in under the radar. I think Off the Ball mentioned this as well. You look at Cork beating Mayo, Kildare beating Roscommon. You had nearly Westmeath beating Tyrone. Imagine if John Hazen scored that point towards the end. We would be talking about Westmeath going to Ballygofay this weekend and Tyrone out of the championship. Unfortunately, for the romance lovers, that didn't happen and Tyrone went through. But look, we still have a very good fixture there too, like Donegal and Tyrone. And a few weeks ago, even for Donegal, we said Donegal were in a mess. And within 2 to 3 games, their season's back under wraps as well. And I think it epitomises the point Seamus is getting, that Gaelic football is going to get tight this year. And it's very, very tight. And we've said this over the past week or so, that this is probably the most competitive championship in years. I think Aaron mentioned it since 2010, possibly. Maybe it's a good omen for myself because Cork won the All-Ireland that year, but enough said about that, just in case of being biased and all that. But it is a competitive championship, and I think everybody would agree with that. And you look at the games this weekend, they're extremely hard to call. And especially, even if Donegal, Kildare, Cork seem to be the home teams, the away teams will definitely fancy your chances, even despite that.
Oh, without doubt. And I mean, yeah, let's crack into the actual match previews, starting with the football quarter finals. Now, of course, we're going to start with your own County Cork against Roscommon at Páirc Uí Chaoimh. And I mean, you are talking about, when you talk about how quickly one game can just change your whole mindset. Now, don't get me wrong, Cork had impressed me in previous games this season. I mean, the victory over Louth was a good win. Their performance against Kerry was a very, very good performance, done over by that controversial decision, in my opinion. And then the performance against Mayo was fantastic. They get the victory, 114 to 111. Now coming up against the Roscommon side, they've actually gone the other way. I was more impressed with them at the start of the group when they went away to Dublin and Croke Park, showed great confidence. Then they also got the victory in the next game against Sligo, and then, flattered to deceive, and got beaten by Kildare. Now they go away to Páirc Uí Chaoimh to play Cork. And if you had asked me to predict this game at the start of the year, I would have said Roscommon hands down. Now I think it's actually quite an even game.
It is definitely, and at the same time, like, it's very, very close to call. And we said this at the start, but I know Cork have done brilliant this season, and you couldn't be any prouder of the lads from a Cork fan's point of view. But at the same time, I'm thinking at the back of my mind, this is a very good Roscommon team. They finished third in Division 1. They beat Mayo as well. Let's not forget, at the start of the championship, in the Connacht Championship, by 4 points, 2-8 to 10 points. Yes, they lost to Galway, but they could have easily won that game as well. Like Kieran Murtagh scoring that goal, and if Damien Comer wasn't so sharp in that game, Roscommon could have a Connacht title as well. So this is not going to be easy for Cork at all. But I will say, maybe, I think David Bourne said this in JMAT podcast earlier on the week, maybe the Cork fans will get behind the footballers now that the hurlers are out. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise for them, because you look at, I find Cork fans on social media now, and they're all for the footballers now. You might say it's bandwagoning or whatever, but they're going to create a loving, brilliant atmosphere now in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and it's going to be a brilliant atmosphere down by the marine. And as well as the Cork fans, the Roscommon fans will travel in their numbers as well. So it's going to be a brilliant day in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, brilliant day of football, and two evenly matched sides. Would you say, like, I don't know who's favourites for this game, actually, Seamus, because I'm hearing the Cork are favourites in some aspects. Roscommon finished third Division 2, or Division 1, should I say. I would have Roscommon favourites. I don't know what you think about that yourself, but like, it's going to be a very, very tight game, and it's going to be very close to call.
You know what? I would have them as slight favourites, but I think what could drive the atmosphere to the game is the prospect of an upset, the prospect of a potential big scalp on the cards, and that is always recipe for a really good atmosphere at the ground. Once they get a sniff that they can take a scalp, I feel like the Cork fans could really get behind this team. And I mean, you said it yourself, you're feeling the vibe amongst the Cork fans that there really could be an upset on the cards here against the Roscommon side that have looked fantastic this year, but also look vulnerable against Kildare.
Exactly, and at the same time, like, I know Kildare won the game, but it looked to be on the highlights anyway. I actually didn't watch any GA last weekend. I was just going off highlights because of a family bereavement. But I was seeing the highlights of the game, and I thought Kildare were just better. Well, it was an equal game, but Kildare were just lucky in some aspects that they got crucial marks at crucial times. And Roscommon had some excellent performances. Like, in the Spitz performance last Sunday was outstanding, and it will be again for Roscommon. And what I'm interested in actually seeing between the two sides is the midfield battle. You look at Roscommon's midfield, Dean Ryan has been impressive this year. Enda Smith loves to drop in. And when you look at Cork's midfield, the four big lads in Colin O'Callaghan, Ian Maguire, Rory Dean, and Killian O'Hanlon, if they go into a tussle in midfield, that's going to be an unbelievable battle. And when you look at the forwards against the defenders, who will Daniel O'Mahony pick up this time? Like, I'm sure, I think he picked away O'Shea the last time out. He picked up David Clifford the game before. So you'd imagine he's the main man marker for Cork, and he has that potential. The question is who
will get Murtagh, Kieran Murtagh. I'd say maybe even Kieran.
Jeez, it's going to be
interesting. Close to goal. If they leave Diarmuid in close to goal, I think they'll leave Daniel on him. Kieran sometimes drops out, so I think he could get a Sean Meehan. Is Meehan fit? No.
He's not. No, he's out for the rest of the season. So.
Okay. Okay. Who would you think would be on him? Meehan would be perfect for him, wouldn't he?
I would think, because Meehan would be definitely. For me, Rory Maguire. I know it was a controversial decision.
Yeah.
Like,
but at the hole in Jack Carney's head last week.
Yeah. No, it was a bit of a rough challenge, and even as a Cork fan, I would say that was a straight to the Cork. I know I've spoken to him.
Fella literally winded up. He was smiling when he got the yellow. He knew full well he got away with it. But yeah, I mean, going into this game, like you were talking about it there, Roscommon had some great performances in the Kildare game. They absolutely did, but they still didn't get over the line. And like that has to be a concern, because it's against a Kildare side that hasn't looked great this year. Like, let's be honest. Kildare have flattered to the sieve at long parts of the season. And I think Cork, the only game where I walked out thinking Cork dropped their level in that game there, the only one so far this year where I really thought Cork, let it slip, was actually against Clare. And I would not take anything away from Clare. Clare put in an amazing performance to beat Cork. But I didn't even think Cork played to their best that day. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
I definitely agree with that. I think Cork were way too cautious that day, and they didn't play front foot football. I know we have this defensive system under Kevin Walsh, and shout out to Kevin Walsh as well. What a transformation he's done in this team. We all thought Cian O'Neill would do it with the Cork team, but Kevin Walsh, he's done about it quietly as well. You don't see him in the media or whatever, but you could definitely see the stamp he has on this team. He got them to frustrate Mayo, got them to frustrate Kerry. And as well as that, if there's any coach to know a Connacht team inside and out, it's Kevin Walsh. And we have him. So that's another aspect that Roscommon need to watch. And as well as that, I think Roscommon, they lost to a Kildare team that didn't play well. And as well as that, a Kildare team that lost to Cork and Newbridge, they got hammered by Cork and Newbridge as well. So...
is it a thing, though, that maybe styles make fights? And just hear me out on this part, because Mayo have struggled throughout this year with defenses, like packed defenses. They struggled like hell against Louth for long periods. They got beaten by Roscommon, who came with a defensive system. They struggled in the league against teams that parked the bus back. But then their best performances this season were against teams that went gung-ho with them. Teams that went man on man, let's play 15 on 15, like the performance against Kerry away. And people were saying, oh, like, I didn't see this performance coming from Mayo, and, you know, out of the blue. Have a look at the style first. Matchup-wise, that's a good matchup for that Mayo team. It allows them to play their running game. It allows them to play front foot football and hit on the break, because Kerry will be the team that will probably have most of the ball. Mayo can hit fast with their runners, their own McLaughlins, their Paddy Durkins. That suits Mayo way more than a game against a packed defence, way more than a game against a Roscommon, in my opinion, even though Kerry have better players. Could it be a case that Cork were just a good matchup for Mayo, and maybe that factor does not play into the Roscommon game as much as it did against Mayo? Now, I'm not saying that Cork can't beat Roscommon. I still think they absolutely can. But do you think that element might be gone?
It could be more so, definitely. But at the same time as well, to counteract your argument, I know we lost to Kerry in the end, but we could have easily won that game, or even drawn it, to be fair. And Kerry played an attacking system. So it's just, I think Cork have improved. But at the same time, I'm wary of Roscommon, because you look at the last 5 meetings between the sides in all competitions. Roscommon have won the last 4 against Cork, including a Super 8 game in 2019, and including a crucial game as well in Division 1 in 2016. I remember this because I was at it. Roscommon 4-25, Cork 3-10. That game relegated Cork to Division 2, and that set us on a downward spiral to Division 3 after that. And as well as that, it propelled Roscommon into a kind of a team that you could take seriously as well. So could this be the game to reverse those fortunes? It's an interesting thought, to be honest with you. So, like, Cork fans do remember that as well, not to take away from Roscommon, but the manner of that defeat was kind of embarrassing from a Cork football point of view that day. But they can easily erase that from the history books from Cork GAA if they go out and beat Roscommon now in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. And as well as that, like, the last 2 games in Cork, Roscommon won them. Cork haven't beaten Roscommon since 2010 in Croke Park in the All-Ireland quarter final. And that was when Roscommon were in Division 14. So the record is not good for Cork as well against Roscommon. And if they can beat them on Saturday, that'll be a humongous step for Cork as well. Maybe even bigger than the step against Mayo, in my opinion. Because, like, you know, it's a record growth
as well. One thing that we have not said, it's a Roscommon team that got caught last year by Clare.
Yeah.
So this is a Roscommon team that has slipped up in the past. This is not, and for everyone saying, you know, Roscommon have looked good, and this is going to be harsh, but Roscommon have looked good, but they're yet to really break through the glass ceiling. They're yet to get that win. Do you know what I'm talking about? That win that gets them into a semi-final. That win that takes out, you know, a Kerry or a Tyrone or somebody at a quarter-final stage. They're yet to get it. And in the past, they have, you know, slipped up at these stages. Now, we have a comment here from Joe. He says, can I just shut down all rumours about fighting between Mayo players? People just looking to rise a stir. Now, I mean, I haven't personally heard too many rumours of any issues going on between Mayo players, but yeah, we'll shut down those rumours. I don't know nothing about that, to be completely honest. But to go back to my point, Roscommon do need to break through that glass ceiling. Do you think this is the year they could do it?
I thought they would do at the start of the season, but
maybe thought the Dublin game. Sorry to add this in, but I thought the Dublin game was a golden chance to do that.
Yeah, I definitely think it was, but at the same time, in last 12 knockout fixtures, and I've studied this because I work in the Southern Star, I was doing a bit of background check on Roscommon going into this game. In the last 10 years, in the last 12 of the All-Ireland knockout, Roscommon have won. Can you guess how many games they've won, first of all?
In knockout?
In knockout in the last 12 of the All-Irelands.
Is this including Connacht finals?
This isn't including Connacht finals, including the All-Ireland series and Super 8s as well, which was there briefly.
2.
Yeah, bang on. Yeah. So, one victory.
What can you say?
Another question as well. Who were those against? the two games.
Well, Cork, because you said one.
Yeah.
So Cork is one. I'm going to say a team that they really should have beat. Well, give me a hint. What year was it?
2018.
Oh. And it was in a Super 8. Who made it? Kildare?
No.
No.
Armagh.
Who was it? Armagh. Oh, yeah. I remember that. That was a weird game because I remember watching it and it being so ugly, seeing the yellow and the orange on the same screen at the same time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was actually at that game as well. So, it was actually an entertaining game that day. But at the same time, that's a horrendous record, really, for Roscommon. 2 wins for the last 10 years. That's pretty poor. And for them as well, it's a crucial fixture because if they can win it, I said it about Cork's point of view, but if Roscommon could win this game, it'll shut down all them, talk about Roscommon not being a big game team. So, and maybe the Dublin game, like I know Dublin would have been a significant win in a way, but at the same time, it was a group game. It wasn't a knockout game. This is a huge pressure cooker game for Roscommon now. So it's a big game for both sides, and it's one to look forward to.
The last point, but I'll make before I get to my pick a team moment is Stephen Sherlock won 5 off the bench in Cork's last game against Mayo. Does he start this time?
I look. He's a brilliant player, Stephen Sherlock. He's a brilliant footballer. I commend him, but at the same time, I wouldn't start him. I really wouldn't, because it adds that extra dimension off the bench as well. Because you look at Roscommon,
the Kevin McMenamin of Cork.
Possibly. Like at the same time, like you look at the forwards there, Brian Hurley, the forwards that started the last day now. I think Owen McSweeney came in for Chris O'Jones. And Chris O'Jones came on and got a crucial point, which actually got Cork into a home preliminary quarter as well. So, like, there's crucial players all over the field. Like Conor Corba can't even start for the team either. Mark Cronin. And that's the thing with Cork as well. The panel is rising rapidly. I have to say.
We've one more question here from Denise. Do you think Roscommon rely on Enda Smith too much? I'll let you take that one if you want, or I can take it if you want either.
I don't think they do personally, because Kieran Murtagh's their top scorer so far with 117. So that's my point. Dermot Murtagh's another one. Keane McKeown is another threat. So I don't know what you think about that, Seamus.
Yeah, I'm happy to go with that. I think he's definitely a leader for them, but to say they rely on him, I wouldn't necessarily agree. I think, he's definitely a huge cog in the machine, but I don't think they rely on him too much. But yeah, decision time. Cork v Roscommon in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. What are we thinking?
I'm going to go against my heart, Seamus. I'm going to go for Roscommon. I just think there's a performance in them. I just think it's a big game for them. Like, if they win this game, they'll shut down all the talk about them not being a big game team. And this is a game where realistically they should be winning. They finished 3rd in Division 1. Cork finished 4th in Division 2 behind Louth and lost to Meath as well. Let's not forget in Division 2. So it's a game Roscommon should be winning. And I think Davy Burke will get them up for it, and he's an excellent coach. I think Roscommon will win it, but by the slightest of margins, Cork will definitely put it up to them.
Okay, we have a prediction. Yeah, no, definitely a good prediction. We have a prediction in from Denise. Roscommon 217, Cork 113. I definitely don't agree with that, Denise. Sorry, I don't think Roscommon will win by that much. Honestly, the more I think about this, the more I analyze it, the more I can see a route to victory for Cork. So I'm thinking there, like as I'm saying to you, Roscommon have yet to get that real defining victory outside of Connacht now over the last 5-6 years. Like, they really haven't. But that being said, Davy Burke seems like a man to break new ground, and I am going to go with them to narrowly get over the line. I'm going to go with Páirc Uí Chaoimh to be a carnival atmosphere, but I'm going to go with Cork to just fall short after putting in a huge battle. Roscommon to win for me by a point, but a really, really entertaining game. Well, you can look back on this and say she was right. Do you know what? if it finishes 217 to 113, you will have my word. I will put up a post saying Denise was right. 100%. I can promise you that. But yeah, no, because if the score finishes that would be some crazy level of psychic ability. But yeah, so we've both gone the Rossies to win by a narrow margin. This one, I imagine, is another game that just one result has completely changed the complexion of this game. Kildare versus Monaghan in O'Connor Park. Now, obviously, it would be a home game for Kildare, but obviously Newbridge is under construction, hence it's in O'Connor Park. But that is still a lot more of a home venue for Kildare than it is for Monaghan. Now, obviously, the last results, Monaghan losing to Donegal, Kildare beating Roscommon. I mean, a week ago, how much has those two results changed your opinion coming into this?
The thing is, and going back to the Roscommon Kildare game at the same time, Kildare kind of got lucky with the amount of marks they got. Like Kevin Feely, I think.
5 marks.
I think it was 5. Yeah, Kevin Feely got about 3, I'm sure. So it was ridiculous, really. And like if Monaghan shut that down, I think, is there a question Kildare could be a one-trick pony here? That's my question for Kildare, So, and again, like Monaghan, they lost by 2 points to an improving Donegal team. I don't think we give Donegal the credit they deserve, and we'll get out to Donegal later. But Monaghan are still very, very good. Like they don't rely on Conor McManus as they usually do. Like Conor Carty is a good player, marauding up from wing back. Jack McCarron is a good player. Gary Mohan is scoring monster kicks at the moment, and Vinnie Corey seems to be getting a good tune out of Monaghan. I just think Donegal were just the better team last week, and they drew against Derry Monaghan as well. So like they're not a bad team. They aren't a bad team, and like I'd question like if Monaghan, get on Kildare's toes. If they block off Kevin Feely, if they block off Daniel Flynn if he plays, if they block off Dark Irwin, Alex Byrne, all them type of threats that Kildare have, I'd be questioning, do Kildare have much in the tank besides them? Because Kildare's panel isn't that, I don't think, by the looks of it, Seamus, I don't think Kildare's panel is that strong compared to Monaghan's at this present moment in time. So it would be interesting to see this weekend. But to be honest, I'd give the slight edge to Monaghan in this one. More confident than the Roscommon Cork game, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I definitely do agree with you. Like, look, the mark was a clear game plan for Kildare in that game. Like, it was very clear that their plan was, we're going to put Feely in there and we're going to punt the ball in high on top of him and see how many he can pluck out from the sky. Whereas Monaghan, I think Monaghan at the same time have more threats. That being said, Monaghan are the type of team that tend to drop their level. So I don't think this will be a washout. I do think Monaghan will win. Like, I do think Monaghan will win this game. But I kind of am interested to see how Kildare will get on, because like they did seem to turn a bit of a corner themselves. Like some of the performances they had, like Ben McCormick in particular, his form against Roscommon was fantastic.
It was, yeah. And as well as that, Kevin Feely, Alex Byrne in particular, could be feel very aggrieved for not getting man of the match. That goal was superb, I have to say.
Oh, the volley, yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant finish. And he's definitely, like, he's done well for Naas at the club championship as well. He's definitely coming into his own. But my issue with Kildare, I just don't think they have enough scores, a spread of scores per game. That's my honest opinion. Like, you usually get for Kildare maybe 5 scores per game. Monaghan have about 7 or 8 per game. So that's a big difference. There's going to be more scores on the Monaghan team than the Kildare team. And of course, they have Rory Began as well, who acts as another attacker. So Monaghan are more attackers. Kildare are more kind of conservative at times. I don't think it'll be a washout. I agree with you there. I just think Monaghan will just be too strong, maybe about a 2-3 point victory, because you look at the players they have, you look at the spread of scores they have, the attacking numbers. Vinnie Corey has them well set. But at the same time, I do get your point. This is a Monaghan team that don't do well on the big day. And I definitely get that point as well. So it's going to be an intriguing battle for many reasons, but I just think Monaghan might have the edge in it.
Yeah, no, I am going to go with Monaghan to win this game. As I said a few minutes ago, I think they'll win it with more attacking power, and I imagine they'll put up more of a scoreline. And if they don't come in prepared for Kildare to try and use the mark as often as possible, then I can't help you there, I'm afraid. But yeah, Monaghan to win this game, we're both going with that. And then that brings us nicely on to Donegal versus Tyrone at McCool Park up in Ballybofey. And this was a Tyrone side that was very, very close to going out of the All-Ireland Championship. So what is their mindset coming into this game?
We need to prove everybody wrong. That's what they're thinking. And it's a dangerous game actually for Donegal, from a Donegal point of view, because I think Aaron made the point as well. Tyrone, if they go into a game as favourites, they somehow flatter to deceive. But if they go into a game as an underdog, they turn it on. And very well indeed. When you look at 2021, that was the epitome of that. Against Kerry, all the odds stacked against them, the COVID outbreak and stuff like that, they win that game. They go into the All-Ireland final against Mayo. Odds all stacked against them because of Mayo stopping the 6-in-a-row Dublin team. They didn't go beat Mayo. So Tyrone, they have a tendency of doing this, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do it on Saturday. But at the same time, Donegal, I think they've improved immensely this season. They've done absolutely outstanding, in fairness to them. Like Paddy McBreard is coming back into the team slowly but surely. Oisin Gallen's doing well at the moment. Quayla McColgan still is in another gear as well. Owen Bon-Gallagher at centre back is very, very good. Sean Patton is getting out his kick-outs very well indeed. Kieran Thompson's a good kicker on the ball. Donegal have improved. And I think Aidan O'Rourke is up for Manager of the Year so far this season. The way he's changed up Donegal has been brilliant. And he definitely deserves a lot of credit for that. It's another tight one to call, Seamus. I don't think you would have said this at the end of the Division 1 campaign when Tyrone seemed to be motoring along nicely with the likes of Darragh Hannivan and Darragh McCurry scoring well, while Donegal were in the doldrums. But how times can change.
Oh, big time. I mean, Donegal were right in the doldrums during the Allianz League in particular. Some of the performances were absolutely abject. But yeah, how times have changed. Tyrone, you are right. Whenever they're favourites, they seem to flatter to deceive. But this is the problem with trying to analyse Tyrone. They are a team that like Croke Park. And when they get to the Final Four, they puff their chests out and all of a sudden they are serious All-Ireland contenders. Now, you have a comment in here from Joe. He says, off topic, can we just say, how much Colm Collins has improved Clare football? Now, we will go back to the game, but obviously, since me and you have last chatted, Matthew, of course, Colm Collins has stepped away from the Clare role. Just, wow, what an amazing job. What an amazing servant to Clare football. 10 years he was at the helm there with that Clare team, took them from Division 4 and a struggling football county to a real solid Division 2 side that has made quarterfinals in 2016 and, of course, last year as well. I mean, just what a job he did.
An immense job, I have to say. Like and as well as that, Seamus, there was this narrative that it would be Cork, Kerry only down through the years in the Munster Championship, and then Tipperary possibly coming into the fray after a minor success in 2011. And we thought it'd be them three teams for eternity, really. But then this Clare team, they changed their mindset and they've done absolutely brilliant over the last few seasons. Like, as you said, going up from a pretty poor Division 4 side to going all the way up to Division 3, then beating Kildare in the league final that season in, I think it was 2017 or might have been 2016 that season. And they beat them in Croke Park that time. They go up to Division 2. And what is showing they've done in Division 2 over the last few seasons. And even when they went down, people said Clare were unlucky to go down. Really, really unlucky. Like in many years, Clare would have stayed up and possibly Meath would have gone down. But unfortunately, it was Clare to go down. And it's just a shame, really, in a way, that Colm Collins didn't get a trophy to get. Well, he did get the Division 3 trophy, in fairness to him. But at the same time, he didn't get a major, major trophy to, ram home his achievements at the same time, whereas David Power for Tipperary, who was there for a few seasons, got one with Tipperary. And maybe that's a bit of injustice in a way. And you go back to your own argument about Clare being the Tailteann Cup, and if they were in the Tailteann Cup this season, they'd probably win it, and it'd be a brilliant send-off for Colm Collins. It had to be this way, unfortunately, that they went into the All-Ireland series, they chose that route, but at the same time, what a job he's done for Clare football, and for proving the doubters wrong, that there's more to Munster than just Cork and Kerry, and he definitely deserves applause for that. And as well as that, before I cross over to you, Seamus, he's lost David Tubridy, Gary Brennan over the last few seasons. I think Joe Hayes in goals as well. Gordon Kelly at cornerback. He's lost all those players. Exactly. Lost all those players. And he's brought along these young players, likes of Mark McInerney, the likes of Emmett McMahon, Ikem Ogwaru, who's an absolutely excellent player as well. Keelan Sexton, who's come in over the last few seasons as well. Darragh Bohannon, Darren O'Neill. They've come in And they've actually improved as footballers under Colin Collins. It's all down to him. He's done an excellent job with this Clare team, and it's going to be a very, very tough job to replace him.
Oh, without doubt. I mean, you know, when everybody talks, this is the nicest compliment I can give them. You know, when everybody talks about their best 15 to never win an All-Ireland title, I think the manager of that team would be Colin Collins. I genuinely believe he's the best manager to never win an All-Ireland title. I'd actually challenge somebody in the comments who is a better manager that has never won an All-Ireland medal. Like, genuinely, he has to be at least right up there.
James Horan.
But James Horan had, I'm not trying to be in any way disrespectful, but James Horan inherited, I know in 2011, Mayo were in the doldrums, they'd been knocked out in the qualifiers by Longford, but he had there at his disposal Andy Moore and Keith Higgins, Lee Keegan, these lads.
Yeah, and another one I challenge you, Kevin Walsh.
Not on Collins' level for me. Like, in my opinion. Look, he's a really good manager, but Colin Collins is like he's done like what Mickey Hart did with Louth, Colin Collins did with Clare. And he kept them there for years. So Clare being as good as they are now is all down to Colin Collins. Like, he overhauled the entire culture.
Yeah, I'm not. The Colin Collins has been an outstanding manager, but I'll challenge you with one more. Kieran McGeeney.
Okay. Oh, that's a difficult one. Look, I probably would still say Colin Collins. Just about. Who would you pick?
I'd probably pick Collins as well, but McGeeney's definitely a good show. What he's done with the Kildare team as well, other than Armagh as well.
Yeah, true.
You know, so
true. Now look, it's an interesting debate. It's definitely an interesting debate, and like I'm sure there's other managers in there somewhere, but like in terms of the level he got them at and the level he brought them to, I think he has to be up there. Going back, of course, feels like a long time ago since we started talking about that game, but going back to Donegal against Tyrone, like, how much does previous seasons play into this? Because obviously previous seasons now, if you were going back 2019, 2020, 2021, Donegal were beating Tyrone. Tyrone beat them in 2021. That was when it changed. Tyrone beat them in 2021. Like, who has the psychological advantage now if either of them do?
Slightly, and judging by previous meetings as well as current form, I would say Donegal. Because Tyrone have been pretty poor this year. Like, they could have, if John Aislinn kicked the score, which he'd usually do in that game in Kingspan Breffley Park, Tyrone would be out of the championship. And they would have counted themselves so lucky. And even in the games this season, like, when you look at their overall games this year, yes, they lost to Monaghan. Okay, they played well, but they lost the game. In the group stage, they played against Galway, pretty poor in that game. Armagh, like, they were pretty poor in the second half while having an extra man. And against Westmeath, they could have lost that game easily. So Tyrone have not done well in the championship this season. But I just wonder, is this the time when Tyrone click? When it comes to knockout, when it comes to nitty-gritty, this could be the time. And it usually is with Tyrone when they just click. When something just happens and they snap. It could happen on Saturday.
That, by the way. I'm saying this is where Tyrone click. I'm saying Tyrone grind out a victory here, and then they're a problem for everybody else. Seriously, they'd get Derry straight after that, and that would be one hell of a game. But I think this is where Tyrone click. I am going Tyrone to win. What are you thinking?
First game I'm going to go against you. I'm going to go for Donegal. I like what Ian O'Rourke has done. I really like the way he improved Donegal. You look at Oisin Gallen, he's a changed player. Kieran Thompson, Paddy McBrear. I'm not sure will Paddy McBrear actually start on Saturday, but if he does, that's going to be another threat to soften Tyrone a small bit. Caelan McGonigal at midfield is doing well this season. I just think Donegal have more confidence on their side, and I think it'll be enough to get them over the line, and they've done brilliant this season.
Yeah, no, they certainly have. But now, that's the first one that we've disagreed on. Will it be the last one? I feel like this one definitely divides opinion. It's the final preliminary quarter final. It's going to be played on the Sunday, the only one that will be played on the Sunday. And what a game this is. I mean, speaks for itself, doesn't it? Galway versus Mayo at Pearse Stadium. Galway have the home advantage. But in a stat that I seen posted by the Gaelic Corner, big shout out, of course, to that Instagram account. Go follow it if you have not. They were talking about how home advantage doesn't seem to matter when these two play each other. Does it carry any weight in this game?
And actually, Tommy Rooney or somebody mentioned this off the ball. Actually, in Pearse Stadium, Mayo's record is much, much better than Galway's. And in McHale Park and vice versa, Galway's record there is better than Mayo's. So it's crazy.
Maybe that's why they lost the game.
Yeah, that's probably why they did it.
Probably why they put Aidan O'Shea on the free in the last minute. Like, can we just talk about that for a second? They've got one free to save themselves. Let's kick it into we're going to lob it into the square. Let's put Aidan O'Shea, one of the biggest men in Ireland, taking the free instead of standing in the box. Whose idea was that? I know they had him on the freeze, but wow.
The thing is, though, Seamus, they needed one more point to draw in. They only needed to lose by 2 against Cork to finish second in the group. So I was just going through my head looking at that like, what? Like, surely it's easier to kick it over than to drop it short for O'Shea or Ryan O'Donoghue or anybody, you know. So Mayo don't perform. Yeah, exactly, Denise, definitely. So maybe it's why Aidan O'Shea was on the free and why they kicked it short at the end and went for a goal instead of a point.
They went for the worst option out of all. You either drop it short with O'Shea in the box or you put it over the bar, and they took neither of them.
Yeah. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it when it happened. But actually, Kieran McCarthy from the Southern Star actually thinks that O'Shea was going for the point, which makes it even worse. Oh my God, you know, it's...
But would it not be the most Mayo thing ever to win this game? Like, dead serious. Yeah. To put themselves in a position where they are in trouble, get Galway, who are one of the biggest favourites for the All-Ireland, and take them out.
Yeah, it would be. Definitely would be, to be honest with you. Because when you look at it, the past few seasons, Mayo have gone in under the radar. I remember a game against Tyrone in Croke Park. A lot of people saying Tyrone could challenge Dublin this season. I think it was 16 or 17. I'm not sure what the year was particularly. But Lee Keegan and co just changed that opinion around completely. I think it was 16 actually, because they knew they'd play the winners would play Tipperary in the All-Ireland semi-finals. So that's what I know. But that game, I remember, Tyrone went into it as raging hot favourites in Croke Park, and Mayo somehow turned them over. You know, so it isn't among the realms of possibility that Mayo could do this. But at the same time, you have the feeling, Seamus, that Galway are kind of too good to go out at this stage. Mm-hmm. I know it's a big game, but Galway have been so impressive this year. And for the game against Armagh to put back their season a tiny bit, like, they'll be gutted after that. And even the Shane Walsh free at the end, you would have thought Shane Walsh would have got that. You know, enough said about Aidan O'Shea. Shane Walsh would have been nailed on to get that free towards the end. He didn't. And they've got a preliminary quarter-final. It's a very tough one now before they even get to the All-Ireland quarter-final. And who would have thought that at the start of the championship?
Oh, big time. And I mean, when you're talking about that, you were saying about how it's kind of hard to wrap your head around Galway being out now, especially with all the chat about them winning the All-Ireland. Mayo were talked up to win the All-Ireland, especially after beating Kerry away from home. Is it also kind of inconceivable that they could be out only a few weeks after pulling off that performance?
Jeez, I don't know.
I don't care saying this. Galway are far more consistent than Mayo.
Yeah.
Far more consistent.
Yeah.
So I'm not as surprised that Mayo are in this situation, because they've done this literally year after year. Like 2017 is always my favourite one to go off. Like a bang average Derry team took them to extra time. Cork should have beaten them as well. And that was a Cork team that was in Division 3. And then all of a sudden they beat Kerry and should have beaten Dublin in the All-Ireland final. The best Dublin team I've ever seen. Like, they're the most inconsistent team I've ever seen. And to then bringing this in, Galway are consistent. So I am surprised that they're here.
Yeah, I am. But at the same time, it does take one game to mess it all up. And that game against Armagh, like, at the same time, though, it wasn't that Galway performed terribly like Mayo did in the last few minutes against Cork. It was the fact that they were unlucky. They missed the penalty through Shane Walsh, which, to be honest, he'd normally stick, and Aidan Rafferty saved in fairness to them. And as well as that, like they just lost the run of themselves towards the end of it. Armagh got a few points on the board. They got a winning point at the end. And then they get the chance for Shane Watts to knock over free, which he usually does. And he misses it. You know what? I think it was just luck and poor luck on the Galway side at the same time. And yeah, it could be penalties, all right? Like if it was penalties, there'd be so much uproar in this. And I wouldn't be surprised at the slightest if this game goes to penalties. They're actually rethinking my prediction, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely has swayed me because I do think that they are very evenly matched. Yeah, what are you thinking? Full prediction. How do you think the game is going to go? Because I feel like it's kind of pointless to try and predict these games. I feel like it depends what version of the teams turn up. I couldn't really tell you. I feel like if I was pushed to predict who I think is going to win, I would say Galway. More consistent. You know probably what you're going to get with Galway every week, whereas Mayo sometimes turn up and they sometimes don't. That being said, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Mayo pull this one out of the fire. They love to throw themselves into the fire and then pull themselves out. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do it. But if I had, if I'm putting a cheeky bet on it, I'd say Mayo. If I'm putting my life on it, I'm saying Galway.
Yeah. I'd probably go Galway. If this game was in normal time or ended in extra time, I'd say Galway will win it. But as Denise mentioned in the comments there, if it goes to penalties, I think Mayo will win it. Because Mayo are just the most luckiest, jabbiest team over the last few seasons.
That's an amazing statement to say about Mayo. The team that scored 2 own goals in an All-Ireland final is the lucky one.
The thing is, as well as that, when you remember it, and Seamus, I'll bring you back to 2018, a game against Tipperary, which in many ways, Tipperary were the much better team in Simple Stadium that day. But suddenly, Mayo get a goal from a player that was going for a point, clearly. You know?
Yeah, they're lucky apart from the final.
Yeah, exactly. They're lucky, like in the qualifiers and the quarterfinals, possibly at the same time. So, and maybe the semi.
Let's not forget as well. I think it was last year that Mayo played Monaghan in the qualifiers, and Lee Keegan just brought down the Monaghan player for a penalty, and it wasn't given.
Yeah.
So they have got lucky.
In 2016 as well against Tipperary, they had to rely on a harsh black card for Robbie Kiley that day. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
So yeah,
imagine if Tip had beaten them in that semi-final. They would have played Dublin in the All-Ireland final. That would have been mental. But, yeah, so are you saying Galway then as well?
I'm going to go for Galway,
Here. Joe says, bold prediction, Mayo by 2 to a late goal. Not a bad prediction.
In extra time, much like Mark Keane's.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it would make headlines if Galway go out. Do you think it would make more headlines if Galway go out or if Mayo go out?
If Galway go out, clearly, because Galway were the All-Ireland favourites at the start of the season. Even in the All-Ireland groups,
if Mayo win, they'll celebrate like they've never celebrated before.
They will, yeah. They will, no doubt about it.
All right, so Galway then.
Galway then, and I'd be interested to see the weather in this game because it's usually mucky and rainy and salty, and if it's that, it'll be a battle.
Yeah,
Seamus. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching this.
One to watch for sure. One to watch. Now switching over codes. Just before we do, I'm just going to give you the recap. So me and Matthew have agreed on the Roscommon Cork game. We think Roscommon are going to go through. We've agreed on the Kildare Monaghan game. We think Monaghan are going to go through. So that's 2 out of 2 for the away teams. We're split then on the next one between Donegal and Tyrone. Matthew thinks Donegal will take it. I think Tyrone will take it. And the last game, we're both in agreement that Galway will go through to the next round. And Denise says here, oh yeah, we'll have Joe Biden back to celebrate. No doubt about that. He loved his last trip to Mayo, no doubt. All right, so we are going to switch codes now. We're going over to the hurling. And then the first one that we have up is my beloved Dublin up against Clare. And how ironic that a Dublin fan is pointing out a questionable choice for a neutral venue. But the Gaelic grounds, really? Not like Clare have played there twice already this year.
And the most ironic thing that Clare were complaining about was the game being in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. And I'd actually ask you this question, Seamus. Would you rather the game be on in Páirc Uí Chaoimh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That tells you all you need to know.
Clare are less familiar with that pitch. Take any bit of advantage that we have because, state the obvious, we are huge underdogs going into this game.
Yeah, it definitely is. And even if you went down to Thurles, that'd be still a difficult game for Dublin to get over. It's kind of a sorry story for Dublin in many ways because every year they get into the All-Ireland quarter final. Where do you go? To Thurles, to the Gaelic grounds, to Páirc Uí Chaoimh, to any of those grounds. And to be honest, Seamus, I'll ask you this: are you actually sick of it?
Close their eyes and throw a dart at the map. That's where we're going. Next year they'll have it up in I don't know. They'll have it up in Carrick and Shannon next year.
Or the Antarctic.
Yeah, Antarctic. Yeah, get the penguins off the pitch.
Exactly.
Yeah, but what are your thoughts coming into this game now? The Gaelic grounds, interesting choice, but look, we can't have complaints about that. I mean, the football team playing Croke Park every day when it's supposed to be the neutral stadium. But the Gaelic grounds is the venue for the game. Thoughts in general coming into this game. The Clare side coming off a heartbreaking defeat to Limerick in the Munster final, which still leaves them without a Munster title since 1998, would you believe? So last time Clare won a Munster title, the internet didn't exist as we know it today. But and then we've got Dublin coming off an unimpressive victory over Carlow.
And the thing is, as well, another stat, Clare haven't won a Munster title since both of us have been on the planet.
And with time to spare as well. I mean, I know I'm 2001. I'm guessing, are you 01 or 2000 as well? 2001. So, yeah, we still had 3 years to go. So, yep.
Yeah. No, it's a funny story, definitely. Yeah, but at the same time, you look at Clare; they lost the Munster title agonisingly as well last year, and Wexford nearly turned them over. I'm not saying Dublin will win the game now, but at the same time, Dublin have a golden opportunity to provide a shock here. And let's not forget, I think it was 2015. Dublin went in as massive underdogs against Limerick that season in Semple Stadium in a rainy day. Limerick looked to have the game wrapped up, and then Dottie O'Callaghan turns into prime Henry Shefflin, and Dublin get over the line. And maybe it could happen with Danny Sutcliffe or Sean Curry or of course, Donald Burke in this game. It could, it could happen. But at the same time, you mentioned the neutral venue. Well, you say neutral, the Gaelic grounds is literally down the road from Clare. It was literally a road next to the Gaelic grounds called the Ennis Road. So that probably, epitomizes it's not really a neutral
That's
venue.
the one that Aidan McCarthy felled Jake Morrison.
Exactly,
We're commenting here. Joe says, sorry, Seamus, Clare by 10 plus points. My favourite to lift, Liam McCarthy. I mean, definitely a shout to it. I hope it's not by 10 plus points, but look, my head will overrule my heart on this one. I do think Clare will win. But am I deluded in saying that I think that there is a route to victory for Dublin? I think a lot of things have to go right. Look, I'm not in any way saying that we're favourites. I do think there's a route to victory there, though. And I wouldn't have said that before the Galway game. I was impressed with our performance against Galway.
I don't think it's a deluded thing to say at all, because the elements definitely say that Dublin could pull this off. Because when you look at Clare last season, I mentioned the Wexford game. Wexford could have won that game. If it wasn't for the last 10 minutes, Clare would have been out of the championship that season. And when you look at previous years, Clare have a tendency, after a Munster final or an agonising defeat to your previous, they then spiral out of control, or a good season is followed up by a pretty shocking season. You look at 2013, they won the All-Ireland, of course. 2014, they get knocked out by Wexford, who weren't a force back then. 2018, All-Ireland semi-finalists. 2019, they can't even get out of the Munster group. So is there a trend here? 2022, decent enough year. Okay, they lost to Kilkenny, but a decent year where they really put it up to Limerick, take it all the way to extra time and all the way to the finish of that. But then this season, there is a possibility, I'll definitely tell you, on a rainy day, I'm telling you, Dublin could do it. They could. But at the same time, I won't be putting my house on it. I'd say Clare should win the game. But there is a chance for Dublin to win it. But I think Dublin will have to get their shooting bang on to win the game. You look at Donald Burke, You look at Danny Sutcliffe, Sean Curry if he plays, Alex Considine. They need to be at their top level. Chris O'Leary in midfield and Mark Goggin in mid or Grogan. What am I saying? Goggin, but anyway,
David Goggin. You were watching those inspirational videos.
Exactly, yeah. But Mark Grogan, I should be saying, thanks for pointing that out, Seamus. But he did well against Cardiff, scoring 1-2, I think, in that game. So, like, he could turn it on. But to be honest, all the Dublin players have to perform at top level. Owen O'Donnell, who's he going to go on? His namesake Shane? So it's going to be...
I think Owen will probably go. Honestly, I think they'll put Owen on Peter Duggan. If I had to choose, I think they'll go size for size and they put Owen on Peter Duggan. And I think Clare will be happy to take that. I think Clare will be happy to let Peter Duggan take Owen O'Donnell out of the game. Dublin's best man marker. I don't think that's in any way controversial to say. I'd be interested to see who we put on Tony Kelly. Like, will we go with a Conor Burke? That's an obvious choice. And I think Dara Gray maybe picks up Shane O'Donnell. Like, it'll be interesting to see who goes on who. As for down the other end, it'll be interesting to see if they put someone man marking Donald Burke. Will they let him float around centre forward like he has done in a lot of games? Like, will they let John Conlon kind of sit off him? Or will they put someone like, following him like a Rory Hayes, etc.?
I will tell you this, and this will be crucial, actually, a crucial matchup. If they put John Conlon on him, this is an opportunity for Donald Burke to knock over some points.
Yeah. Because he can sit deep.
Yeah.
And he can ping them over from literally anywhere.
Yeah. He's one of the best shooters of the game. Despite playing for Dublin, I think he's an excellent hurler, Donald Burke. But if Rory Hayes goes on him, that's going to be a difficult day out. But at the same time, like, Donald Burke could slide his way through, and Rory Hayes could easily get 2 bookings and he's off. So there's that element too.
I think Clare should put Hayes on him. I think Clare should put Rory Hayes on Donald Burke immediately. I think it would be naive to think, oh yeah, we're just going to let one of the best shooters in Ireland sit in the pocket and pick off probably 12, 13 points. Then again, could it be an element, okay, and this is bizarre to say, but could it be an element of that, like, let's be honest, Dublin need to hit goals. Dublin are not going to outpoint Clare. It's not possible. It's not going to happen. I honestly am saying this with confidence. If Dublin are going to win this game, we need to score 3 goals. Like, we need to score 3 goals. We need Keane O'Sullivan, Alex Considine, Dara Purcell. We need them to hit the back of the net at least 3 times. And that being said, if they were to let Donald Burke sit deep, would that eliminate Dublin going for direct ball into the full forward line? If you get where I'm going with that. If they pushed right up on Donald Burke, would Dublin be forced to go long? And could that lead to potential problems with the Clare defence, especially when you think that Conor Cleary is only just recovering?
Yeah, and it'd be interesting actually to see who they put full back, because that was a serious injury Conor Cleary got. So I don't know who they put in. If they put in Cian Nolan again, like, I think Cian O'Sullivan would be licking his lips looking at Cian Nolan the last day against Aaron Gillan.
Yeah.
So that's going to be difficult. But Sean Curry, Seamus, is he going to play? Because he's an excellent hurler too.
I hope so. I mean, I don't know what he has to do. 10 points in the Dublin Hurling Final against Crokes a couple of years ago and didn't get a look in that season. He's getting more of a look in under Micheál Donoghue, which I'm happy that he has. He's been an outstanding hurler for Na Fianna now for years, and long overdue a good run in the team. But I like, to be completely honest, if you're pushing me for a decision now, this is exactly what I think is going to happen in this game. I think, sadly, it's going to be very, very similar to what happened between Clare and Wexford last year. I think Dublin will stay right with them for 45, 50 minutes. And then when it hits the last 20 minutes, I think Clare will get their act together and stumble over the line. I don't think it will be a comfortable performance. I think it will be similar to the Wexford game last season, where Clare just showed that little bit of match-winning ability to get over the line. But I think Dublin will do themselves proud. I don't think it will be a hammering, which is something that I have feared in the past coming up against Munster teams, which shows that I do believe there has been some progress made. But if you had to pick me for a result, I'd say Clare by 5 or 6 points in the end. They pull away just at the death.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it'll go similar enough lines. And I think it'll be a tough game for Clare in this game. Like, Clare, I know there's a lot of talk about Clare this season, but other than the Limerick game in match day 2, have they really performed that well in games gone by. They lost to Tipperary in the first game. Waterford, if Waterford didn't get there, if Waterford got their act together by that time, they could have troubled Clare by that performance. Cork, I think both teams were kind of off at that day as well. So
it's an interesting one because the games are so tight and they're so intense that you kind of get caught up in the adrenaline of the game. Like, are you saying that actually, if you were to boil into the stats, that they didn't hit the limits that they did? And we were talking about this when we were talking about the Munster final. We were saying that Clare did play better last year in the Munster final than they did this year.
The thing is actually, and I noticed this as well, they had an under 50% shot accuracy in the Munster final.
Like,
and last year against Kilkenny,
that's tragic.
And the thing is as well, last year, and I think everybody remembers this stat, 24 wides against Kilkenny last year in the All-Ireland semi-final. Clare have tendency to do this. And if they, don't hit the lights out, particularly in this game, I'm saying this because Dublin, for winning this game, Dublin have to hit nearly every shot they get over the bar. And in fairness to them against Galway at stages in the game, I thought they did that. But they have to do it against a big team now, against Clare. And as well as that, they troubled Galway in the Leinster Championship. And Galway are kind of a team that would be kind of on level par with Clare over the last few seasons, if you get what I mean. So there's always an opportunity for Dublin. But I just think Clare will have enough. And I agree with you. They'll probably win out by 5, 6, 7 points. It will be close throughout. But I think maybe in the last 10 or 20 minutes, I think that's when Clare will pull away.
Yeah, no, for sure. Unfortunately, I think this is where it comes to an end. But as a Dublin fan, I've been hugely impressed with progress that we have made this season. But yeah, Clare to go on and then get a rematch against Kilkenny, which of course they would be hoping to do better than they did last year. Now, the last game will confirm whether or not we think it will be an identical Final Four as to last season. Limerick await in the other semi-final. Will they play Galway or will they play Tipperary? That will be decided in the Gaelic grounds on Saturday, immediately after the Dublin versus Clare game. So that will be a feast of hurling on Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. Now, these two teams, come into this game on, differing form, you could say. Tipperary have just set the record for the highest score ever recorded in championship hurling. With 59 points they put past Offaly in O'Connor Park. 7 goals, just absolutely ridiculous. Jason Ford back in the team. What did he score? 211? Something terrifying like that. And yeah, Galway, on the other hand, coming in off a heartbreaking Leinster final defeat to Kilkenny. So interesting, the difference here.
And the thing is, Galway have not performed, other than the Leinster final, have they performed particularly well this season? In my opinion, they haven't. And Tipperary, I think, have hit the lights out. Other than the Waterford game, I think Tipperary performed well in nearly every game this year. So, I think it's different performances as well as different mentalities. So you'd say that it all points towards a Tipperary victory. But at the same time, you look at Galway last year against Cork. A lot of people thought Cork would win that game, and instantly Jack Grealish hits a hopeful ball and it ends up at the back of the net. Something like that could switch a game completely. And Galway will be hoping it goes their way once again. But I just don't think it will this time. Tipperary look seasoned now. You look at Jason Ford coming back to the team. You look at Mark Keogh, who's on form, honest this season. Jake Morris is doing brilliant. Alan Tyne in the midfield. Garrett O'Connor didn't even start against Offaly, and they put up that tally. So Tipperary are a team to be reckoned with this year, and I think they'll be the team to play against Limerick in the All-Ireland semi-final. But Galway, if Evan Noyland hits form, if Conor Whelan strikes the back of the net early, he scored 6 goals and 11 points from playing the championship so far. If they hit form, sorry, who?
One trick pony. Just for context, guys, whoever is watching that doesn't know the context of what I just said, Jackie Tyrrell labels Conor Whelan as a one-trick pony before the Leinster final. He went on to win man of the match, scoring 1-6 with a 100% shot accuracy. So some one-trick pony that is. Yeah, I mean, I remember I was saying this to you in the match review after. I was saying, what's his one trick? He scores every time he gets the ball. So yeah, interesting Interesting take.
The thing is actually, I think Joe Canning might call Jake Morris a one-trick pony or something like that, and the same thing will happen.
Wait till you see. We have a complete side note here coming from Rommel. Mayo delighted to play in Salt Hill. Castlebar pitch was a 300k botch job. Major inquiries needed at board level and at the contractors as to where the money was spent / disappeared. I know nothing about that. I can't lie to you. So I don't really have too much input in that. But yeah, the point that you were making about Conor Whelan, who do you think they will put on him? Because I think his form is unbelievable and he is a key man for Galway.
I'm not sure about this, but is Cottle Bart fit?
I'm not 100% sure, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
If he is, it will be him.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think Craig Morgan's back now.
Could be him.
Could be. Ronan Maher, possibly.
Yeah, Brian O'Mara.
Brian O'Mara is a good man marker, yeah. I think if Cathal Barrett is fit, he'll go on Conor Whelan without a doubt. But the problem is, I don't know, is he 100% fit or not, or Tipperary going to risk him? So I would say Owen Connolly, Brian O'Mara, possibly, the younger players. Because they'd have to speed to keep up with Conor Whelan as well. You have to take that into account. So I think it could be one of them, or possibly like if Craig Morgan is fully fit, he could go on him as well. Ronan Maher usually likes to roam, probably not him. So I'd say one of the young guns, or Craig Morgan, Owen Connolly, or Brian O'Mara. That's if Cathal Barrett isn't it?
Yeah, I think one thing that we're not taking into account, we haven't said it yet, is the way Galway lost that Leinster final. The way that they've ended up here. Like, let's contrast it to last year. Last year, they flattered to deceive in the Leinster final. They didn't turn up. And Kilkenny beat them fair and square. This year, they should have won that game. It was right there for them. And the way that they lost, to go 2 points up, and I'm telling you, being in the stadium for that Leinster final, when they put that point over to go 2 points clear, the Galway fans around me were standing up, they were clapping, they were celebrating, they were happy, they were laughing, they were smiling, they were giddy. They fully believed that a Leinster title was theirs. And then to concede that goal in the way that they did, when they failed to clear the ball, let Kilkenny put it back across the goal. I don't even care saying this. Whatever you do not let them hit the ball back across the goal. They let them. Then Mannion kicks it to Buckley, who sticks it in the net. And the minute the full-time whistle went, they were all just collapsed on the ground. Like, how have we possibly lost that game? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely get what you mean. It's a different mindset. But at the same time, it does take one lucky goal, one lucky strike, one lucky red card, and Galway could win the game, like against Cork last season. So, look, maybe that game is put in the back of their minds at the same time because it was 2 weeks ago. It's not a 7-day turnaround anymore. So, look, at the same time, I think Galway, if they're going to be serious about contending with the likes of Limerick and Kilkenny, they have to put it back of their minds now. It was 2 weeks ago. They have to put it at the back of their minds and focus on this game against Tipperary. But at the same time, I think on form, Tipperary have done better than Kilkenny this season. So it's going to be a way more difficult game for them. So it's going to be a difficult one for Galway to win it. And for that reason, I think Tipperary will have enough. I just think they'll have enough in the forward line, have enough to deal with the likes of Whelan and Nylands. Rhys Shelley's doing well in goal at the moment. So, I think Tipperary will have enough to win it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm going to go with Tipperary to win it as well. I think that they have more threats going forward, and you cannot ignore that scoreline that they put up. I know it was against Offaly, but I mean, God, the Simpsons meme where he's saying, stop, he's already dead. Like, they put up, 7 goals? Like Jason Ford on his own hitting 211. I mean, just a crazy scoreline to put up. And now, I think they're carrying too much momentum into this. Galway are heartbroken after that Leinster final. There's no two ways to put it. But I think they're not coming in with something to prove as much as they were last year. Like, people were writing them off last year. I don't think it's as much this year. I think people know what they're capable of, and I think they're heartbroken. I don't think that they can turn it around. I think I am going to go with Tipperary to deal a decisive blow to Galway's championship season. So, yeah, we're saying that it will be different Final Four, but we're going to say Limerick against Tipperary in the semi-final on one side, Clare against Kilkenny in the semi-final on the other side. And having seen, the rivalry between Limerick and Tipperary potentially developing there in the Munster Championship. I would love to see those two lock horns in an All-Ireland semi-final as well. I think that would be box office if the two of them were to face each other again. But yeah, guys, that is the full weekend preview. My massive thank you again to Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic Statsman, for coming on the show today. Feels weird to say that still. But that is the full weekend preview. Thank you so much for giving us your time today, guys. And until the next one, take care.